It was a very early rise for people this morning, eager to escape Yellowknife and the encroaching wildfires. At least 22 flights were scheduled today, with the goal of transporting about 2,000 people. Yesterday, more than 1,500 people were flown out on 18 commercial flights and 1 military plane. More flights have been added for tomorrow. Now, most evacuees are ending up in Alberta, either by plane or by vehicle. Evacuation centers have been set up right across the province. Mike Ellis is Alberta's Deputy Premier and Public Safety Minister. He's with us now. Minister Ellis, welcome to Power and Politics.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show.
The Premier has said, Minister Ellis, that Alberta will do everything to help its northern neighbours, and indeed we have seen Albertans really step up. I'm wondering if you could give us a bit of a status update, just how many evacuees have arrived in your province thus far?
Yeah, I think at the start we had about 5,400 that had arrived, and then since the Yellowknife has declared the state of emergency in that particular jurisdiction, I think we're probably nearing 20,000 more evacuees, and you're correct. Everyone is stepping up the plate, from high level to Fort McMurray to Grand Prairie, Calgary, Edmonton, and everything in between. It is really showing not just leadership, but it's showing what it's like to be Canadian, Albertan, and a good neighbor.
The communities you mentioned, it is a long list. To the best of your knowledge, I mean, Leduc, we heard, was full. Are all of the centres and the community still accepting evacuees at this point, with that exception, Leduc?
Yeah, I mean, we started with the northern communities, obviously high level, Fort McMurray, Grand Prairie, Wood Buffalo. They certainly are at or nearing capacity in those areas, and that's why we've been able to open up Calgary and Edmonton to accept evacuees. And unfortunately, we do have some practice in this because we recently had a provincial state of emergency here in Alberta, and we've had a lot of lessons learned, and we're doing what we can to pass that on to the folks in Northwest Territories.
Bringing that to bear most recently in Edmonton, as you mentioned, the Expo Centre I know is open as of this afternoon. What is it prepared to do?
Well, it means prepared to do, as you indicated, what the Premier said, whatever it takes. And we're making sure that we bring to bear all the necessary resources to help folks through healthcare, through mental health and addictions, through social services, children's services. We want to make sure that people are taken care of in all those aspects. And yeah, I mean, they've got practice in this. They have experience, as I've indicated, and they're doing whatever it takes to make sure everybody's taken care of. And we understand the trauma that everybody's going through, that's for sure.
Do you think the province is in a position to add further host communities, and do you believe that will be necessary, Minister Ellis?
Well, I can tell you this. I'm in direct contact with Minister Thompson, who is my point of contact in the Northwest Territories, who's certainly doing a phenomenal job up there. I've been in direct contact with Minister Sajjan and Minister Blair, who I'm working very collaboratively with. We've sent teams, incident command teams, up to the Northwest Territories. And then to really answer your question, at this time, yeah, we believe we do have the capacity to accept more. Again, Albertans do what Albertans do best. They just step up to the plate, and they help vulnerable people, and they help people who are displaced. And we're really I couldn't be more proud to be an Albertan right now.
Well, it's interesting. I wanted to ask you directly about that, but it's obviously sort of permeating your answers, because people have said they just can't believe how many Albertans are helping, how welcoming they've been, how helpful and supportive, and maybe just a thought for the people of your province in terms of their response.
Yeah, I mean, it's I was a first responder myself during the 2013 floods in Calgary and in the surrounding area. We really saw neighbors helping neighbors, and that, as I call it, the Alberta spirit coming to bear. That, of course, has continued on throughout the years. We saw that in the provincial state of emergency and the fires, where just neighbors were helping neighbors. We had, just as an example, the town of Edson that had been evacuated twice for fires. And they were evacuated another time for a flood. Again, neighbors, just helping other neighbors. And so, I reached out personally to Minister Thompson when this started to when these fires started to become a real threat in the Northwest Territories to offer assistance.
Yes.
I am very humbled that he took us up on that offer, and we're proud to work collaboratively with the federal government on this.
I was going to ask you, in terms of, it does seem that there's a lot of communication back and forth. How would you characterize the level of cooperation between provinces and territories with the federal government? Have there been any impediments at all?
No, I have a direct contact to Minister Sajjan. Him and I have been making sure that we have the necessary command structure in place, the resources in place. As you probably are aware, at least the start of this crisis up in the Northwest Territories, a disproportionate amount of our First Nations communities were affected this. So we've engaged, Indigenous Affairs Canada. We made sure that our province under Minister Wilson and our Indigenous ministry is engaged to make sure that we're taking care of the needs of that community as well. And I have a direct contact to Minister Blair and the outstanding job to make sure that there are a number of Hercules planes and helicopters that have been able to transport evacuees out of Northwest Territories into Alberta. So really proud of the collaboration that we're working with the federal government and the Northwest Territories on this crisis.
Okay. As you know, a big part of the discussion surrounding the summer that Canada's experienced with fires and floods and heat has been climate change. And I'm curious, the Premier was asked a few days ago whether she thought the wildfires in Canada this summer are linked to climate change, and Premier Smith wouldn't make a direct connection. What do you think?
Well, I think that there's various reasons why we've had fires. I know that there have been in Alberta. There's been some transformers that have caused fires. There's been quite a few causes of caused by humans, as an example, when it comes to people just not taking care of their fire pits. They've had some railways that have caused some sort of sparks. Is climate change a factor? Absolutely, climate change is a factor. But there's also a plethora of reasons as to why we're having fires in specifically Alberta, and it's not entirely climate change. There is a component that unfortunately is carelessness with humans, and we have to we have to be aware of that.
Minister Ellis, I thank you for the time and the information today. We'll stay in touch.
Thank you very much.